It's utterly wild.
Microsoft own World of Warcraft and also StarCraft, and they might fix or save all of these franchises.
It's madness.
Yeah, we might finally have a Heroes of the Storm with some Master Chief in it.
That's exactly
or
what I wanted.
other Xbox characters like Fable Guy.
Could you imagine if they just decided they're going to make HOTS the Microsoft MOBA, put it in Game Pass, fucking put it on consoles?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Oh yeah, HOT. I guess you could, because like HOTS' brawlery game feel.
Mm-hmm.
At least as I last remembered it, its brawlery game feel would probably fit a controller just fine, or maybe even very good. Maybe.
Possibly.
They'd probably have to make some changes.
Yeah.
But interesting. Anyway, yeah. What Microsoft owning Warcraft means.
Yep.
Actually could mean quite a lot.
A surprising amount I don't think very much in the short term, but obviously short term, they don't actually own the game until like maybe the end of this year. So we'll have to find out what that means. But long term, really, really big.
Yeah.
Really big. Possibly.
And I think the first thing is we've got to talk about incentives. Because there's different incentives in these two companies. Activision and Blizzard. What were they? They're a third-party publisher. So, insofar as they own a platform, they have Battle.net. So that would definitely give them an incentive to grow Battle.net. They're only doing that with their own first-party titles. They were obviously not interested in being a platform holder.
Of course not.
They were very focused on just maximally exploiting their franchises. Now that's going to give you a lot of. I mean, it does have a long-term incentive of don't fuck the franchises, but it has quite a short-term incentive of okay, we got to rake it in from these things. Whereas if you look at Microsoft, what does Microsoft want to do? It wants to grow their overall long-term enterprise value, which is basically going to mean they want more Game Pass. They really want more Game Pass. You know, they like the idea that Xbox is also a Windows thing. Yeah. So how do they do that? Well, they do that by not burning through their potential for short-term money. They do that by long-term and big things and not hyper-optimizing the nice-to-haves out. So if you look at Activision Blizzard and they were to apply the Pareto principle to their overall business, they're swiftly going to decide HOTS is dead, StarCraft is dead. Pareto principle, by the way, also known as the 80-20 principle, is that 80% of your result comes from 20% of your thing, or your effort. And if you look at Activision Blizzard games, think about the quantity of developers that they have, think of their revenue split from all of those games, and I think you could definitely see that StarCraft, HOTS, not pulling their weight. And if you look at Microsoft, like, why the fuck do they bother with Age of Empires, an RTS? RTS, really? The genre that Blizzard Entertainment, fucking pioneers in this space, no longer would touch? Where they even fucked their own legacy and fucked their own franchise with War 3 Reforged? Right? Like, so the incentives are different. Blizzard now Blizzard under Activision Blizzard King was interested in getting as much money from all the things as possible, not bothering with dumb things like RTSs, just sort of doing what's really making the money. All the things we heard about, everything's got to be $1 billion franchise, $1 billion game.
StarCraft will never make $1 billion.
Yeah. Whereas Microsoft is like, does Microsoft think that Age of Empires 2 is going to be $1 billion thing? No.
Nope.
But they know it's important. And one of the things I brought up with I was looking at a news video a while ago, is the Epic Games Store. What does Epic want? It wants market share. It doesn't want to make money right now. So why would they get Phoenix Point, a spiritual successor to XCOM? It's because they want that type of player, right? That they're trying to acquire those players. Microsoft platform holder, Epic platform holder. So if you want to be growing your platform, creating that long-term value, you're going to have longer-term decision-making. And hopefully that means more investment, less of more of a focus on growth than profitability. Because basically, if your growth is really stagnating and then you sort of switch gears over to profitability mode, you'll make more money, but maybe you'll be sacrificing growth. Maybe you won't be doing everything that you could be doing to make people, happy.
Yep.
So if we're going to think about this in the context of Warcraft, then the question is, what does it mean? Well, champion! Yep. Windows 11 is ready! Please install. But what could change? What could it mean?
A lot of things, but who actually knows? So, like, generally speaking, like it'll be a long time before we see any of this because the deal won't close till sometime between July 22 and June 2023. Bobby's contract ends in March 2023. He could be out earlier with his golden parachute, or they might keep him around to, he'll just leave with the 400 million of Activision stock he has as opposed to extra money. But it's just like, until then, nothing theoretically, except for the fact that they now know this is going to happen, so they'll maybe clean stuff up, maybe act a little bit better, because, employees will see there's hope in the future, so they'll kind of look and go, okay, we can maybe struggle through this in the hopes that something better will come along next year. But then you look at it means basically Phil Spencer will have high-level oversight of Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
That's what it means. Phil will be the man who goes, well, I think growth is important. I think everyone having access to everything on their platforms, happy users means a happy company. That's what we'll do. Which then means those changes and ideas will go down the chain of Activision Blizzard, slowly but surely. Which basically means Shadowlands would have been delayed by extra months, probably literally months. Warcraft 3 Reforged would never have released like that. Mm-hmm. Which basically means hopefully we see the Xbox approach on everything.
Yeah. I mean, what if Shadowlands is delayed by a month? Would Microsoft have allowed it to be delayed by 6?
Oh, yes.
Because, the thing is, everyone's going to be angry, but...
Definitely.
Do you think Ian looked at the launch of Shadowlands and thought, couldn't possibly make it better? Every developer working on that project...
Perfect.
The thing people don't get is generally the devs are... The devs are pretty aware of problems.
Yeah.
But, the game has to come out. It has a date, so fuck you. Yep. Right?
We've spent the marketing budget.
Yeah.
To come out.
Yeah, it's like that thing, even with QA and bugs and stuff. It's like QA basically catch all the problems. The devs just don't have the time to fix them. That's usually what actually happens.
Yeah, I think obviously people are really, really upset whenever games come out that they want to play and aren't that good. But I think generally speaking, the passionate developers of the ones who have remained passionate about the project and QA are probably the people who are most upset. Because I don't know, if you're in any capacity a creative or care about your work and you release bad work, that feels fucking horrible.
Awful.
It feels worse than engaging with someone else's work that's worse.
Yep.
It's just like, oh shit, what have I done? And it's not even my fault. Fuck.
And Microsoft knew that if Halo Infinite came out they delayed Halo Infinite a year to the point where the new Xbox was going to fight Sony with Miles Morales with
nothing.
They basically took a massive L.
Yeah.
Massive L. Because they knew that if they fuck that up, then Halo will have had 3, I think that every 343 Halo game has had really strong redeeming qualities, by the way.
Yeah.
But they would have had 3 Halo games that had issues. And they would have... They probably could have got more Xbox sales.
Yeah.
But no, they delayed it that year. So maybe Microsoft would have delayed Shadowlands by 6.
Yeah.
Maybe the devs would have actually... Maybe their cries would have been heard.
Yeah, and if you want to see a little bit of statistics for, Halo still came out okay, so clearly it was fine. You think about what they lost, think about the current state and what they, the sacrifice they made to make that game okay. Ampere Analysis forecast I think it was just today actually.
Oh.
The PS5 will outsell the Xbox Series consoles 2-1 this year. So, spurred on by that initial wave of the PS5 won the first year because it had the games, that momentum that they built up, because you have to think of the network effect of consoles, because you're not going to buy a Series X if you're big into multiplayer games and your friends are all on PS5. It's now just going to double its sales this year. Obviously, this is an analytics firm, but, they're likely going to be off by a bit, but they're talking 18 million sales for the PS5 versus 9 million for the Xbox. And that is 9 million people on your platform, if not more, that they, obviously it might not have all been Halo, but that was a risk they're willing to take.
Yeah.
Because they wanted the game to be good.
The only question I have there is how much of that is supply constrained? Because I have a feeling that neither is I think they have abundances of demand.
Yeah, but
it's probably supply.
Both are currently supply constrained. Yeah.
Yeah, wild. Before he says PS5 plus PC equals win. Yep, it's what me and Matt are rolling. So
absolutely.
yeah, for sure. And it's also, I think, kind of telling a few people who work in Q&A, testing, etc., in chat being like, "Yep, we catch him.
Yep.
Bosses don't care." And yeah, man, it's unfortunate. But then also, like, there's some of those realistic things. If it's like, your publisher, maybe you have a contracted thing, or like, we have to release in these 3 to 6 months, and this bug, it's a shippable. Sometimes a degree of that will always happen, but I think it's the slipping definition of shippable that's really the problem.
Oh yeah, it's like shippable for one person this is a very high chance of interfering with the user's negative or the user experience in a negative way. That's not shippable. Versus, will this brick the PS4 and cause us to fail our Sony certification? No. Shippable. Let's go. Hello, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. So we think about the game itself. In the previous segment, we talked a little bit about how important it is that the health of the company is good, so that the work can then be good. So to talk then about things like Age of Empires 2 and 3, definitive editions, fantastic remasters, and both have had their issues, but generally they're great. Age of Empires 4,
Not perfect, but
great. And in a way that it does respect what Age of Empires is. Halo Infinite, we just talked about that. And then the employee culture at Xbox Studios reportedly being good. I saw some Blizzard dev people basically sort of say, like, I've heard good things from my friends who work there. Now, improvement. This is an improvement from what we'd heard in the longer past.
Yes.
Maybe 343 having some pretty significant issues, but apparently it's getting better, so they're being real with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing here is that it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but as long as it's a substantial improvement, then I think that's it's like it's written here where it's they will still suffer from industry-wide problems because the industry has a lot of shit to sort out, but generally speaking, if it's an improvement, then that means Blizzard games and Activision games will be better.
Yeah,
or should be. Should be.
Indeed. Now, World of Warcraft and Game Pass, probably not.
No.
Because, it would be passing up a lot of free money. But maybe introductory offers, things like that. Often, you're on Game Pass, so maybe that will entitle you to a month of Spotify or something like that because of a deal that gets cut. So they could do that. But it depends, BNet and Xbox integration. Like now, Microsoft actually runs 2 platforms. Once the deal passes, they'll run 2 PC distribution platforms. One is Xbox and PC. The other one is Battle.net. So what's going to happen there? I imagine BNet will be BNet. Microsoft probably would have killed that. They know it's pretty core.
Yeah, it's too built up on its own, especially with the weight of like Blizzard people being there. But I think I was really struggling to think of how they could WoW on Game Pass or have any inclination there. You would think maybe with their like 6-month sub strategy there'd be something there.
Yeah.
But it might actually work the other way. You might get a 6-month sub and have a month of Game Pass. Likely not, because they'll want to keep that ecosystem likely self-contained to keep everyone super invested in Battle.net instead of maybe pulling them out into like the Game Pass wider thing. Depends on how they strategize it. But generally speaking, you'll likely get some decent bonuses.
Yeah, and look, any integration between those will be easy to do now that they have the same owner, right?
Yeah.
So
also Game Pass owns.
Yeah,
just general.
That too. Game Pass is stupid good deal. Stupid good.
Yep.
So World of Warcraft on console. Let's talk about the points and say yes. Xbox's whole strategy is all the games everywhere. Also, Elder Scrolls Online, like it had been on console anyway, but it is on console, which maybe we should mention. Maybe they see, ESO does pretty good on console. Maybe it's a bit of a sleeper hit there. I have no idea, by the way. And then they think, okay, well, this maybe tells us that we should just do it in Xbox. Yep. Now, WoW has native controller support as of Shadowlands.
It does indeed.
You don't need to use WoW Mapper anymore.
Nope.
Also, current consoles are just PCs. Not really, but there's no fundamental, like, big issue in porting.
Yeah, it's not going to take, like, 8 months of engineer time to get it to run. It shouldn't take more than, likely a month or so of good engineer figuring out some of the small problems that they likely have, because I'm sure there's a lot of really interesting stuff that World of Warcraft does because it's old, but
people are talking about add-ons.
And
then I guess also Blizzard has seen success with Overwatch and Diablo. Now, what points to know? Games UI is bollocks. Ain't just will not work. Now, The crossbar that FF14 developed is something that I think they opened up the patent or whatever, so...
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Anybody could use that, and it's a pretty good setup. I'd also say Monk, the developer of console port, hit him up. I mean, ask politely, but I'm sure, who knows? But like, console port's awesome.
Oh yeah, that never got a follow-up. I actually meant to look and see if the developer of Click was in contact with him over that being used or not, because I think that would be interesting. I would feel worse about them using add-ons if they didn't talk to the developers about it, but yeah.
Legally they can, but totally.
Yeah, well, legally versus what's right, you know. Hopefully they're on one side of it now.
Add-ons too.
Yeah, add-ons. I forgot to write that down.
And I mean, I'd overall say we need... Now that I have done P1, P2, and P3, I am also completely on board with Team World of Warcraft needs to fundamentally change how it designs fights so that add-ons are completely not needed whatsoever. 100 million%. I do believe this now. Yes. I mean, I believed it before because, you shouldn't have that situation. It creates this crazy gap in your players of the haves and the have-nots.
Yep, absolutely.
But, something there, which I guess you could say, oh my god, it's going to simplify WoW for it to work on a console. I'd be
it is not.
No.
It is not. Not at all.
That said, I mean, I have to imagine the Savage rating scene is a bit smaller on console for FF, surely?
I don't know if it's smaller, but it's definitely, it definitely exists. I mean, fuck. I might be completely making this up because I have no idea if things in my brain are real or if I've made them up and planted them as fake memories, because you could totally do that to yourself, by the way. But I think some of like the world first Ultimate clears were console players.
Whoa!
At least some console players.
All right.
Because there's nothing there that is better on a PC because you can just learn the console or you can learn the controller inputs. So I think that's entirely feasible there.
So for WoW then, new player experience would really need to be better.
Especially one thing.
In every way.
Yep. But I actually saw a post on r/WoW where there was a new player completely, like literally completely fresh to World of Warcraft. God knows how they ended up playing World of Warcraft today, but they did. They started, I think it was an undead male something or other. Went through Exile's Reach. The very first thing that could have went wrong did.
Oh no.
Where they, you fight the I think you hit the dummy, you hit the dude.
Yeah.
You fight the dude, he tells you to always face your enemy. And then the storm happens and you go inside. The cutscene worked for them, but it didn't load the island, so they just were back on the boat with no NPCs. That was the experience they had playing World of Warcraft the first time. Obviously, that's a very minor bug, but apparently was introduced in a recent patch. Happens sometimes. You need to remake a character to fix it.
Cool.
Yep.
Very cool. So the next thing then was for a no. Xbox are not assuming control. They're the same, just that they report to Phil. Now, there was tweets from... was it Katie?
I couldn't tell you.
Is Katie to have the handle? Or no. It was... Was it a Jen? I'm so bad at names. But it was somebody who... she's a producer in Overwatch. And she just did this tweet that was like, no, fuck you, Bobby. All this bullshit you made us do. That is part of the reason why Overwatch 2 is late. Because we wasted so much catering to your whims. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the old boss... And Bobby is still the boss, but he's expected to leave once the deal passes.
Yes.
Now, I doubt Phil's going to act like that.
No.
Based on what we kind of know.
I would hope not.
That would be better.
I would hope not, because if that's been happening and we haven't heard about it, I'd be very upset. But
yeah, so I do imagine that World of Warcraft... To be honest, I'll tell you what. See these problems? All of these can be overcame. And it going onto console means money.
It's probably weird to think about how much money it could be. That is a massively untapped market that we kind of think, who on console is going to play World of Warcraft? And then you go, well, put it as the Activision game that has 20 years of prestige, because it'll probably be 20 years by the time this is out, by the time the console version ready.
Yeah.
There you go. 20 years of prestige, the Blizzard game you never played. Here's your chance. It's free. You get 200 years of World of Warcraft sub with 30 seconds of Game Pass. You're sorted. Like, there you go.
Like, they made a big deal about Phantasy Star 2.
Oh yeah, PSO2 New Genesis, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I'll talk shit about it, obviously, but like, it's a smaller game than WoW.
Yeah.
It's probably not as big in the West.
Yeah, that was very big for their like Sega relationships and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, if WoW came, like, how many people have never played WoW, and maybe maybe they have preconceived notions or whatever, but the name, like the brand awareness is there. Like, all those things they look at politicians, and it's like, it actually turns out is really nothing they said or anything they did. It's just to have so much name recognition that they got in. Yep. Some of that is probably gonna be there for a while.
Yep.
So
yep.
Overall, what would I say? If I was to do an overall here, I think Microsoft are more interested in playing the long game. I think Microsoft have demonstrated, at least in recent times, a willingness to understand if we fuck it up, we'll lose our players, they'll be sad, and we'll have less players, and we're actually in the business of having lots of players and making money from them, so we can't lose the players. So I think with Activision, they were clearly... They were happy enough to let the game have many issues and languish and have problems, but hey, run enough mount promos, we'll make our money back, it's fine. The revenue will go up. I've had, let's just say, people in my inbox be like, yell about money though, mounts.
Yeah.
So, I think Microsoft will think differently, and I think that will mean that there will be just a little shift. I think there could be a little shift towards playing the long term, and as you said at the start, we probably think Microsoft. I mean, look, if they were willing to hinge their console, which, by the way, it's not just, they'd probably lose money selling the consoles or whatever, or at least at the start.
Almost certainly. Yeah.
It's not selling the console is important to them. Mm-hmm. What is the console? The console is somebody on their platform, and how they make money is their platform.
Yep.
Which is the 30% cut they make. So they sacrificed all of that to get Halo right. And you think about how important a retained WoW player is and how profitable a retained WoW player is.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So, big.
Big indeed.
Big.
The idea of a World of Warcraft where it's like, this is a problem, and there's a response going, hey, sorry, we'll fix it, or, oh yeah, this doesn't look very good in the beta. Oh, it's delayed by 3 months. You're like, sorry? It feels so foreign. And it's so annoying that that the barrier to that has never been specific developers. It's always been, like people have been saying forever, it's been the Activision money people cracking down, but like, no, we need a release this time.
Another anecdote that I have to bring up, I unfortunately cannot say who this person is. I cannot say anything that would identify who they are, other than to say, your eyebrows would raise, or you would be interested. Because I can't even say how.
Yeah.
But, you would have a think if I said. And this happened like 3 years ago, so also this is almost by the by at this stage. But this individual who would know, because I know their title, they would know. They said, dude, see all that stuff they say about Activision?
Yeah.
True. True. That's what they said. And I can verify this individual. And I can't even say how, because that would help give it away. But this is one of the most rock solid that I would know one of these things. And that was 3 years ago. And yeah, all that Activision stuff is true. Anybody who is saying, oh no, it's all Blizzard's. Yeah, actually, it turns out it's both. It's Blizzard's fuck ups and that happening under Activision's pressure.
Absolutely.
If a important individual or a decent individual in this situation, I can say it's a Blizzard employee. Oh, people think it's influencers. No, it's an employee. Somebody who would know because they were there. That's it. It was Bobby Kotick himself. They gave me the scoop. So, any influencer who tells you that it was just Blizzard, anyone who is kind of going in there, playing defense or something. No, Activision really did fuck some of this shit.